What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mike Dolce Show. Once again, are we worried? We just might be worried. Bam! Let me briefly take you to the Sugar Sean podcast. Let's hear what Sugar Sean O'Malley has to say about this breaking news. You definitely will be interested in. Any fan of MMA wants to hear this.
Not imagine getting here fight week because I feel like I acclimated quicker because I did everything right, and I still don't even know if I'm 100% acclimated. We'll see kind of the next couple of days, but I can't imagine getting here like Monday, Tuesday, and then having to do media, weight cut, all that shit. Holy fuck. But a lot of people don't have this option, like being able to be here this early and having like DCT take care of us, and like we're getting help from the government. But that's what happens when people are fans of you and they fucking you entertain them. They want to take care of you.
Supposedly Charles was supposed to be here 20 days before the Islam Makhachev fight, but it's 2 weeks before the fight now, and he's still not in Abu Dhabi yet. And Makhachev said, "Should I start to worry?"
You see what Charles said? He said,
No.
"Daddy's coming. Chill out," or something like that.
Oh, good. Because Volkanovski says, "Don't worry, brother. I'll be there."
Oh, no.
And to that point, boom. Alexander Volkanovski, UFC 145-pound featherweight world champion, has announced via the Mike Heck podcast on MMA Junkie that he is on his way. He is actually headed to Abu Dhabi to serve as the backup for UFC 280, which is scheduled to be Charles Oliveria versus Islam Makhachev. But that fight now is up in the air. It's not sure whether or not Charles Oliveria, one, is going to make it successfully to Abu Dhabi. And number two, if Charles does make it, confidence is rather low that he's going to be able to make weight and fight for the title. And you guys might recall Charles Oliveria, he recently lost his title on the scale. Yikes. Lost his title on the scale at UFC 274 versus Justin Gaethje. Although Oliveira won the fight, he was stripped of his title on the scale in the fifth time Charles Oliveira has missed weight in his MMA career. You miss weight one time, stuff happens. 2 times, you got to figure it out. 3 times, buddy, you should be out of here. 4 times and 5 times. Charles Oliveira has missed weight, unfortunately, lost his title on the scale. Alexander Volkanovski steps in and announces he is the official backup for this fight, likely because they do not expect, well, I should say they expect Charles Oliveira to be Charles Oliveira and have some hiccups along the way. Briefly, how did they match up? Well, Charles Oliveira is on a tear. His last loss was to Paul Felder back in 2017. That is 5 years ago. And in his own right, Oliveira has been on fire. He submitted Justin Gaethje. He submitted Dustin Poirier. He knocked out Michael Chandler. He had a decision win, though dominant, against Tony Ferguson. He submitted Kevin Lee, KO'd Jared Gordon, TKO'd Nick Lentz, submitted David Teemer, Jim Miller, submitted Kristen Giagos, submitted Clay Guida. Man, like, you got to give props to Charles Oliveira for being a gamer and being a finisher, but unfortunately, the dude can't make weight credibly. We can't rely on Charles to make weight, and that is always an issue. And when we look at, there we go. When we look at his current opponent, Islam Makhachev, well, Islam is no slouch in his own right. TKO over Bobby Green, submission of Dan Hooker, submission of Thiago Moises, submission of Drew Dober, decision over Davy Ramos, decision over Arman Tsarukyan. Now, what I will say, when you look at the pedigree of fighters, there's no comparison. Charles Oliveira has fought much, much, much tougher opposition than Islam has, but Islam is doing exactly what you should do against lower tier opposition, beat them convincingly. So Islam has beaten them convincingly, although Islam's record, the guys he fought, I mean, the best guy he fought on this menu, or this resume, we could say, I don't know, maybe Drew Dober or Bobby Green, right? When we look at who Charles fought, man, Charles fought Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, Ferguson, Kevin Lee, my man Nick Lentz, Jim Miller. Oliveira had a much, much harder route here to this matchup. But then we have Alexander Volkanovski, the man in waiting. Alexander has wins over Max Holloway, Chan Sung Young, Brian Ortega, Holloway again, Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, Darren Elkins, so on and so forth. And Volkanovski hasn't lost since 2013. This is actually an interesting fight. Let's say Charles falls off. Man, then Volkanovski steps up, and very possibly Volkanovski, in a weird turn of events, Volkanovski can walk away as the champ with 2 weight class world titles to his name. Pretty cool. Ant-Man says Charles is playing mind games with Islam and it's working. I mean, possible, but who the heck would want to risk that? I mean, you want to get on the ground that you're competing in, especially Abu Dhabi. That's a long flight for everybody. You gotta contend with the climate. You got to contend with the humidity. You got to contend with the hour. You got to contend with the culture. There's a lot. You want to get acclimated. You know, so I agree with Sean O'Malley. He got there 20 days early. That's the way to do it. Good job to him. What do you guys think? Will Volkanovski step in? Will Volkanovski be successful? Will Volkanovski take the place of Charles Oliveira? Will Oliveira be able to make weight? I don't know. If he gets there on short notice, man, it's going to be tough. And the fight is 11 days away. It's the 22nd, I believe. Let me see here. The fight is, October 22nd. So he's got 11 days, but he's starting to cut it close. Usually the first 3 days, you are upside down when you've traveled internationally. It's kind of rough. First 3, 4, 5 days even are a little rough. So Charles has enough time, but also, man, he's cutting it close. If it's at elevation, I definitely recommend that fighters show up early. Sure, climate matters, but that flight is a butt kicker. Having that type of flight, it's like, 23 hours or something like that to get to Abu Dhabi. Well, depends on where you're flying from. I don't know what it is from Brazil. But you're traveling an entire day. You're stuck on planes and airports. You're just getting pushed around. You're out of your normal routine. And then the time zone is completely different. So there's a lot going on over there. Long layover, agreed. What do you guys think? Will Volkanovski step up? And if so, will he win and be the champ? Will Charles fall off the card? Or maybe it will be Islam. Who knows? We don't know. I do find this interesting. Adding Volkanovski is a good move because I'm actually more interested in whether or not Volkanovski will fight to be the champ. I actually think that's even cooler than Charles fighting Islam. I mean, that's a good matchup. I'm a hardcore fight fan. That stylistically, that's a pretty good matchup. It'll be fun to see what happens. But it'd be really cool to see Alex jump in there and then have the opportunity to be a champ out of nowhere. What do you guys think? Leave comments below and subscribe to the channel. If you have not, I would definitely appreciate that as we close in on 50,000 subscribers here. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, boom.